All right. All right. Welcome to Cali Claptrap. I have Yancy Scot Schwartz, yogi and skateboarder from Hollywood. Yancy, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Awesome. Well, I've been following you on Instagram, and what I really dug about you is you're obviously into skateboarding, into yoga. And so I thought, for the purpose of this podcast, I really want to try to find people that inspire me and are doing good things in the world, and just be able to share their story and learn a little bit more about them.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds cool. Yeah, like I said, I'm honored. Like, hey, I'm glad that what I'm doing, moves people.
Yeah.
To give me a call.
Awesome. Yeah. So I was looking at just some of the stuff I found online, and one of the things that fascinates me about your stories is that, so you grew up in Queens.
Queens, New York. Yeah.
Awesome. And then I was reading on this, let's see what's one page here, Boys of Yoga. And and the question is, what is the one fact that most other people wouldn't know about you? And you said you were in the movie Kids.
Yeah, I was in the movie Kids. Those are all my friends.
That's awesome. And I was just wondering, maybe you could, that must have been such an interesting time. I remember seeing that movie back in the day, and just kind of, that just looked wild and nuts.
We were wild and nuts. We're like, I think a lot of the skaters, especially in the inner city, we're from all the boroughs. We all met up at the banks at Washington Square Park, and that became kind of like family. And till this day, I'm still friends with people from that movie, and even before the movie. I knew everybody from before the movie. And what happened, I think, and it wasn't spoken, or nobody talked about anything like that. Nobody was that progressive in thinking back then, but everybody came from broken homes. So we all found skateboarding, and it was in a fantasy escape world, and these are the people we roll with, and we're just wild animals in the street. And it was kind of freaking fun, man. It was freeing. So to free us from home life, I guess, or just living in the city or living in buildings like animals, trapped. I lived in a 17-story building. 5 of the buildings exactly the same. And, it was just in an apartment, just kind of stuck. It's same how it is now. I'm in an apartment again, but I don't know. Back then you're young and you're a little wild, and home life's not going well. So I found skateboarding, and I just hung on to that, and hung on to the people that were around that and involved with that. And being outside in the street all the time, there's a lot of outside influences that probably aren't the best for you, and you get tempted. And so that's how that kind of went. And then I guess the people from the movie Kids, like Larry and Harmony was with us anyways, and they kind of saw it, and they said, hey, let's make a storyline. Everybody's got interesting stories, and make a storyline and get these people in there. They're interesting.
Yeah. So was it Larry Clark? Was that the director? Or I forgot who the director of that was.
Larry Clark, I think, produced it, and then Harmony wrote it, and then it was maybe, I think, directed by Gus Van Sant. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just know Larry was always there and Harmony was around.
Right. And everyone, there was no, I forgot if not, I don't know if everyone was just kind of not really, professional actors. Obviously, the skateboarders were just.
It was a professional actor. It was just everybody who hung out.
Yeah.
He was. And then from that, Chloe sprung, and Rosario sprung out of that. And
oh, wow.
Justin, rest in peace. He did some stuff, and Leo did some stuff. I think Leo's got a little art gallery in New York now. But yeah. Nice. Nobody.
What's that? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Just our friends. Nobody.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's that was a very crazy movie, looking at it back in the day, and I think it still holds up.
Yeah.
So you grew up in the New York culture, and then somehow found your way out to LA lifestyle, right?
Yeah, so I guess I got into skating, and then you see the skating in the magazines, it's all California, California, and like you want to make it in skating, you go to California. So I hated winters. I hated my home life, and I
Yeah.
hated everything. So I was like, I was angry, and I was like, any chance that I get, as soon as I could like leave, I just left.
Mm-hmm.
Left to California. So I would be going back and forth to California since I was like before kids even.
Oh, wow.
Like just maybe
How
one.
old were you when Kids came out? Or how old were you when you were in that?
I think I was like 18,
Okay.
17, not maybe 18 or 19.
Mm-hmm.
I was coming out to Cal. I think I first came out to California either 17 or 8, either 8 around that age. I'm not good with
Yeah.
time. From
Yeah.
17
Late
to
teenagers.
19, yeah, like as soon as like I can leave home, I
Mm-hmm.
hit it.
Yeah.
Like I was like, as soon as I got some money, I just like I told my dad, my mom wasn't around. I told my dad, hey, I'll be back in a week, and I never came back, and it was like a year. And
Wow.
I actually, Harmony was always saying like, hey, I'm gonna make a movie, like in Washington Square Park. We all hung out. We all skated there. I'm gonna make a movie. I'm gonna make a movie. I was like, man, I don't believe you. And then I was out in California with this girl, and I was out of my brain. I was like, I don't even know what I was taking everything under the sun, and I was freaking, I don't know what I was doing. And I saw
Yeah.
Harmony out there, and I got back to New York after that. I think I was gone there for like a year, and I saw Harmony, and I was like, hey man, I actually saw you, but I was so out of my brain. I saw you in California. What were you doing out there? He's like, I was getting people to back my movie. Hey, and I ran into him at Astor Place where we all skate. And I was like, he's like, yo, come to this place. And he wrote down on a little piece of paper, like a freaking back of like a matchbook,
Uh-huh.
like an address. And he's like, show up here. I got a part for you in my movie. I'm like, okay, cool. So I showed up there and I auditioned for all the roles. And I think at the time I was like a little bit like wild. I think I shaved my head and my eyebrows or something like that. Or I don't know. I was just out of my brain.
Yeah.
I showed up with like no eyebrows and a shaved head, looking like a freaking weirdo. And then I got some like I was an actor, so I didn't know
Yeah.
what was going on. I was like, this is weird. This is stupid. And then I got a part, so I'm like, okay, great. So
Awesome, man. So you eventually found yoga.
yeah, I I was always like, I don't know, man. I had spirituality in me. I mean, I was raised like my mom was uh, Spanish and took me to church and like did all this stuff and like beat it in me and all this gnarly stuff. So, but I didn't agree with like, I didn't like the church. I went to Catholic school because, you know, my mom could afford it because my dad was a super in the building. He got the apartment for free, and she thought
Yeah.
I was a little bit like a little bit crazy. Like she don't threaten to put us in a mental institution. So I was like, she's like, oh, I'll send them to Catholic school. So I went to Catholic and I hated it. And I just like,
Yeah.
I'm like,
I went until sixth grade. How long did you go for?
I went to high school because I didn't, my mom was like, I went to all boys Catholic high school. So my mom was like, I don't know, she thought that would be best for us. She thought like, cause you know, her friends' kids, like the kids in the building, either end up selling drugs or in jail.
Right.
Like so, or the moms would put them in a crazy. So I was always getting threatened to get put in the crazy house. And my dad had kids before us, and one of my brothers was just locked up in the mental institution and tried to stab my stepsister. And I was like, just a whole thing. So I ended up doing that, but my mom split, and then I ended up like getting done with high school by the skin of my teeth, and ended up going to California. But yeah, I mean, What was the question again?
Yeah, I was asking. Well, you were kind of talking about how you kind of were always into spirituality.
Oh
And
yeah.
how you yoga.
So then I don't know. Like I was always stretching because of skating.
Yeah.
I was like a maniac because that's all I knew. So
Right.
my body would get tight. So I was always stretching and like emulating kung fu actors on TV, and then it so happened that I saw a yogi in Venice Beach once, and I didn't know it was a yogi. I'm like, that's it. I knew that was something to it. It just sparked. And then like later down the line, like I went to a yoga class. I was on a skate tour. I said this a million times, and they had I didn't know what kind of yoga it was. Ashram yoga. It was on the roof of the hotel, and sponsored, and they flew me out to Dominican Republic, and I filmed some tricks there. And I was like, all right, yoga on the roof. I'm down for whatever. Like did the chants, did a shoulder stand, and I came back. I'm like, I don't know what yoga is, but that's pretty cool. I just mellow, chill, like great.
And how old were you?
I don't know. I think I was in my 20s or something like that. Like
Yeah.
whatever, like maybe 20 something. I don't know. And I never thought of nothing of it, and then never really pursued yoga, but I was always stretching. And then after that, I had met this girl, and she's like, let me take you to yoga. And I went, and I didn't know there were different kinds of yoga. So when I had went, I was like, what is this? This sucks. This is terrible. It was like a power yoga, like a broken chest, and I hated it.
Right.
Playing Eminem, like, the people were like expressive breathing. I didn't know what it was at the time. It sounded like orgasms. I was like, the skateboarder in me was like trying not to laugh, and the poses were like hard. I just wanted to stretch. I'm like, this is like, I'm half laughing, half hate it. I'm like, never went back. And then she ended up becoming a yoga teacher for that studio. She went to California, and she helped open up a studio. She got certified, became a teacher. And I was dating her, so I spoke to her on the phone, and I was like, hey, I'm gonna come visit you. And this was in Berkeley, and I knew like this dude, Sean Stockton from Berkeley, that was a pro skater, and I was like, this is Sean Stockton land. I'm gonna go freaking rip Berkeley, like I can't wait. And I told her, I was like, yeah, it'd be good to see you. I'm psyched, like can't wait to see you. In my head, I'm like, I'm gonna skate to you, and then I'm like, oh, and I'll take your yoga class. And that slipped out of my mouth. And I didn't want to say that, but it already said it. And I was like, ooh, I put my foot in my mouth. But then so I was like, all right, I guess I got to take her yoga class. And then, but what she did was she showed me like the basics on salutation and upward dog before I even took the class. She showed me a little bit. And then I was like, okay, I have an understanding of it. And so like all that other stupid stuff kind of canceled out, like the hard stuff and the loud music, where I had some kind of understanding, like a warrior 1 or warrior 2. She kind of took me by the hand and showed me like, and then after the class, I felt euphoric. And then I went skating, and it was almost like very effortless, like that yoga high, euphoric. And I was like, okay, there's something to this. So I just kept going. And I didn't stop. And I had no idea like of fancy poses. I had no idea of like, I knew it was something special, but I had no idea, like couldn't put my finger on it. And I just kept practicing and practicing, and then delving deeper and deeper, and I just kept going, practicing. Like when I came back to New York, I kept practicing power yoga, whatever it is. I didn't just do whatever and go straight.
Right.
Like closet yogi, just quiet skate, like run to the studio, go and like go skate, and like kept doing that, and then I just got deeper and deeper into it. That's how that went. Became a teacher.
Right. And so you studied, looking here, practicing with Sri Dharma Mitra. Did I pronounce that correct?
Yep, that's correct.
And what is, I guess, doing the practice that with him, what type of yoga is that, and what did you learn most from your teacher?
Well, that yoga, I didn't know when I first started there were different kinds of yoga. And then later on, I explored. And then that kind of yoga is Hatha Raja Yoga. It's a eightfold path. So it's like
Okay.
everything, like all the limbs of yoga. And what I liked about that practice is super spiritual.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't finding in like these like power classes. And then the poses, I did come from like, you know, intense stuff, like, you know, from skateboarding. I'm like, I think I need a little bit more. So his classes were like all encompassing on physicality, spirituality, like breath work, meditation, concentration. So I'm like, this is it. It's got it all covered. Whereas opposed to like I'd go to, you know, power class and they wouldn't own,
Mm-hmm.
you know, or I'd like go to a power class and there's no like pranayama or something like this, or like breath work, or like no meditation or whatever, because, you know, or
Yeah.
no key poses. And so this had it all.
Right.
Okay, great. This is it. This is the dude. And what I get from him, like he's done it all. He's done all the poses, done the work. And there's no question about it when you're around this person's presence.
Right.
And like people are pretty smart. You're pretty smart. People are pretty smart. They can smell like this is
Authenticity.
no authenticity.
Yeah.
Not. So I was like, this is the dude. Whereas the word, you go to a class and you hear the typical, yeah, like may pretend like you're stuck between two panes of glass and like, you know, like just smile, and there's none of that. It's just very quiet, very astute, very focused, and then he'll make you laugh a couple of like silly jokes because he's an old guy, he's like a grandpa.
Mm-hmm.
Behind that is like, you know, that this guy's done it.
Yeah.
He's lived it, and so that's the key with that. So so it covered all that kind of stuff.
Right. And then it looks like after that you did, and I hadn't even heard of this, rocket certification.
Yeah.
So what is that?
So I had done rocket before I met Dharma. So what happened was I found rocket and it was very intense. It was really great. It's like Ashtanga, but like a little bit modified and lots of inversions. So all the fun stuff and it was great. And it was so powerful. Like, oh wow, so physically challenging, so powerful. And I was like, great. And then I couldn't find anything similar to that. And what I liked about when I met Dharma, I was like, okay, I can incorporate what I learned to the rocket in Dharmas, and then in the Dharmas, I can incorporate that into the rocket. So they balance each other out really well.
Mm-hmm.
Like all the back bending in Dharma, like I can add that to my rocket, right? And then all the like the strength and the inversion, I can add that to my Dharma. So when people, Dharma yogis are like, whoa, dude, how can you do all this stuff? And then like the rocket yogis are like, what? Like, how do you put your feet on your back? Like, wow.
Right.
So yeah, I found rocket. Rocket's like Ashtanga. It was founded by Larry Schultz, who had passed away. And he had studied with Pattabhi Jois in India, Ashtanga. And I guess it was the time of the hippie culture revolution in the 60s, 70s, and he came back from India. And he put an ad up in the Yellow Pages, yoga teacher, advertising. So he got a call, and it was the Grateful Dead. Showed up in a hotel room, and so he went on tour with the Grateful Dead. And the thing about Ashtanga is it takes a long time, and it's very physically taxing. It's very physical. And so the Grateful Dead, the Grateful Dead, a bit much, and like, Larry, this is taking too long. So Larry devised a sequence called the Rocket. It wasn't called the Rocket then. So he devised a sequence, and they're like, what should we call it? And then the Grateful Dead coined it, I think Bob Weir said, we should call it the Rocket because it gets us there faster.
Oh, wow.
A bit faster, and then a lot more fun. The mix between primary, secondary, and third series is like depending on where you're at. So it's like a framework, but you can like play around within that framework like a jazz musician, as opposed to Ashtanga is a little bit more. That's it.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
get those, and that's it. You do your finishing sequence, go home until you whatever. And this one just is more rhythmic, so it's kind of fun. So.
Awesome. So if you can maybe explain to our listeners too, if you were to do a class with you, how do you blend those two? Do you have a typical ritual that you like to start off with?
Well, I teach. There's a backbending section in the rocket, so that's where I get all the dharma stuff from, so that I can add extra stuff depending on the student. If this is like not enough, I can take it up a notch because I know all these like dharma backbends. And then in dharma, if people need a little bit more inversion stuff, and like I can like loan that and use that to help them and add it. So little tricks I can loan here and there. And then for my own personal practice, I like do a rocket physically, but I add the dharma stuff into it, like all the back bends and all the extra stuff, like the advanced variation. Because in a rocket, let's say, for example, you have like a wheel. Maybe I'd stand up and do a full wheel and grab my ankles, and then go forward and put my feet on my back and a pincha, and do all this like extra stuff that I learned from dharma. But my main practice, I do pranayama in the morning and meditation, a different kind of yoga. And then later in the day, I'll find time to do the physical practice, which is a rocket. And then 2 days a week, I teach dharma and I demo all the poses.
So one of my questions was, that with yoga in the U.S., it seemed a lot just on the asanas, right? And you don't maybe bring in so much of the spirituality and that side of it. Do you find, or a commitment that maybe people out don't want to really kind of concentrate on that stuff and they just want the postures? Or do you find you try to bring in, like you said, with the 8 limb, do you try to bring in all those kind of features to your practice?
I try. It translates. People know when they practice with me, like that's strongly embedded in me. But I don't bring that stuff out unless I know who I'm dealing with or who's receptive or not. Because I don't want to waste my time on my breath, So it's like, what's the point in showing this? Like, I'm not going to show all this advanced stuff if I have a beginner. Like, I had a lady today in class, and she's a little bit newer. So, okay, we take it slow, and then little by little, I can introduce this kind of stuff. So, but it's in me. They know.
Yeah.
They don't. I don't have to say anything. People know. Saw me.
Yeah.
I don't show that kind of stuff like that person. I maybe showed once, and I said it was okay because I sped it up, like morning rituals, all this kind of stuff. You're not supposed to show that stuff.
Oh.
I was like, it's okay. I have the homies like wanting to see it or whatever, or tagging me. So I was like, it's very fast. So you can't really see that kind of stuff. But yeah, when it comes to like Dharma yoga, if I have like my people that take with me all the time, the collective consciousness takes over. If there's more people that are with me, yeah, no doubt whatsoever. We'll do mantra, pranayama, like meditation, easy. But if it's brand new people, like maybe I won't do the mantra if it's just too much, right? I don't want to overwhelm anybody. I don't want to like put anybody off. And I want to ease people into these things, like it doesn't all of it's good stuff, but it depends like what your stomach can handle and your head can handle. So who's ever in front of me, who's ever receptive, or I get a feeling for it, okay, this is what we'll do. If they're not ready for that, there's no point.
Yeah.
But
So you just kind of you read the room.
yeah, but they get it anyways because they're with me. Regardless, I
Yeah.
don't have to do anything, they get it. Like
Yeah.
they know
So
something's there.
oh yeah, for sure, for sure. And I know you also mentioned this article. You talk about yoga kind of being your path and your dharma, and it's your calling. And I was wondering if you still think that, and if that's what drives you, and you
Yeah,
feel passionate about.
I really do actually. It's worked wonders for me, and I'm not perfect. I'm not new. I try my best every day. I'm like, oh, I gotta do my best. I'm trying like my hardest, and these techniques help me a great deal. I'd be a very lost individual, uh, who knows where, doing who knows what, like probably
Yeah.
not here,
Yeah.
like knock on the wood. But so if I can share anything, I'll people out. Yeah, I have to. That's what I have. We're here to help each other. I want to
Right.
help, but
Right.
no point in helping someone. It's like telling your teenage kid or whatever teenager, hey, don't smoke weed. Like that's bad for you. Like no, I've done it. Everybody's done that. But who's ever want to listen? Okay, like hey, yes, what, how, like what do I do? Okay, or Yancy, I'm in the class. Well, obviously you want something, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna help. Like if it helps me, this is what I do. Hopefully it helps you too.
Awesome. Well, I guess my final question for you is, one of the reasons I started this podcast is I want to find people like you that are inspiring me, inspiring other people, and doing good in the world. And so my final question is, when you look at the world, maybe see what it needs, see what you can bring, what do you think you can do or others can do to make this world a better place? Or yeah.
Oh, this is a great question. I really love this question because I grapple with that too. What can we do? What can we do to make things like better for everyone? I think the best thing to do is to see yourselves in others. To see, even if you don't like that person, see yourselves in others so you can be a little bit more compassionate. If you see yourselves in others, would you treat someone that way? Would you think of that person that way? Would you judge that person that way? Like if you're like looking at yourself and others or pretending there's God in that person, then there's no way would you treat yourself or God that way or whatever you believe in. Now, with the techniques and practices of yoga, I feel like uh, they help sharpen your discernment. So it's like, okay, that person sucks, but I see myself in them. But they're maybe at a different state of being, or think about yourself like when you were young,
Mm-hmm.
you've done some stupid things or said some stupid things. Like maybe they'll learn, maybe they won't learn, maybe it's going to take them next lifetime. So what my teacher says, Dharma says, use your discernment, see yourselves in others. That'll make the world a better place. And if you see that you really can't help that person or they're not receptive, just pray for them.
Awesome.
Say a prayer. That's it.
Awesome. Yancy, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join us and share a little bit about your story. And hopefully maybe we can hook up again sometime and talk about where you're at in the future.
For sure, Matt. An extreme pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. Thank you so much.